Hello everybody, it's me George, and today I wanted to do a wee book review. And the book that I wanted to review was Ambrosia's book of Witch Flight by Jasmine Ambrosia. So for any of you who don't know who Jasmine Ambrosia is, definitely go and take a look at her channel. I've been subscribed to her for a while now, and I really enjoy watching her videos. I also really enjoy watching her collaboration videos as well, and some of the group sort of video hangouts and lives that she's done. I've really enjoyed them, and I really enjoy her openness about her craft and her practice. So if you haven't seen her videos, you need to go and do that because I really enjoy her videos. So she very kindly sent me a copy of her book online, and first and foremost I just want to thank her for that because yeah, that was so lovely. Thank you so much. But what I really enjoyed about this book was, I think that sometimes, as particularly traditional witches or folk witches, when it does come to the old craft practice, we tend to go information based, right? We do. We tend to go information based, we tend to go factual, and we tend to look at folklore because we are folkloric witches and we practice within a folkloric context. However, one of the things I have noticed about when there is a room full of witches, and it doesn't really matter what tradition, but I do think a lot with traditional witches and folkloric witches, one of the things I have noticed is we are always very eager to know how someone practices. And we might not kind of give it away straight away, but deep down, that's what a lot of us are thinking, like, oh, I wonder how they practice. I wonder what their perceptions are of witchcraft or their personal experiences. And, you know, I think really we're wanting to kind of know this just so we can kind of correlate them to our own experiences and compare them to our own practices in hopefully a very healthy way. And I really enjoyed Ambrosia's Book of Witch Flight because I think one of the things that I really loved about it is that it is a book based on UPG, which is known as unverified personal gnosis. And a lot of people tend to go like, oh, like that. But I don't think that at all. It is completely different from any other traditional witchcraft and folkloric witchcraft book that I have actually read, because it bases everything off of the author and her coven's own experiences. And reading that was like a breath of fresh air when it comes to traditional witchcraft books, because that's not something that I've necessarily seen before. I've seen like snippets, like bits and pieces, but I've not actually seen, you know, full on kind of whole books talking about personal perspective and experience from a practitioner. And I think that is something that we are missing. And I think this book fills that void in a really beautiful and inspiring way. And it was inspiring. I read this book so fast. Not because there was nothing in it, actually quite the opposite, but because I wanted to know more. And when I read a book and I can't stop reading and I've read it within days, that is a good sign. Generally, for me, I take that as a really good sign. But I couldn't put it down because I was so intrigued. One of the things I really enjoyed as well is that when you work with spirits and when you have experiences with spirits, and especially like myself, I work very ecstatically. My practice is very ecstatic in nature. I do cross the hedge or take a toad leap into the unseen, spirit flight, witch flight, whatever name you give for it. That is a really big part of my practice where I reach ecstasis. I go outside of myself and can join with the spirit world. And that is something that for me is quite integral to my practice. And what I really enjoyed about this book is through reading Jasmine's stories and experiences with herself and also her coven, was that I actually read it and I was like, I completely get that. Like, I have experienced something really similar, especially the chapter on the devil. That was something that I was like, wow, that is really similar to my experiences and meetings with the man in black. Um, and that was amazing. And also when it comes to working with the familiar spirit, a lot of a lot of the stories, even though we say unverified personal gnosis, in some respects, it wasn't unverified. For me personally, as a practitioner of over 20 years, and especially being in within ecstatic traditions, it's something that I was like, wow, I completely correlate with that and I completely understand. And through reading that, I guess in some way it's good because the book is like an omen or a synchronicity within itself. Because I think if you are a practitioner that is a walker between worlds, that crosses the other world, that has one foot here and one foot in the other world, then you will read it and there will be synchronicities. It will correlate with practices. Now, the practice might be completely different as of how you do that. And that is the beauty of witchcraft. That is especially within the beauty of old craft and traditional craft. And some of the interpretations may be different, but the synchronicities and the omens within that are, it's verified. Like for me, I was like, oh my God. I really, really enjoyed the book and I thoroughly recommend it actually to anyone who is interested. I think if that hedge witchery and crossing the hedge and spirit flight plays an avid part within your praxis, I would definitely recommend this book. I really enjoyed her different interpretations of the spirits as well within her spirit codex. At times it kind of felt to me like a Tradcraft Goetia, like a lesser key of Solomon, but in a kind of Tradcraft edition, and I really enjoyed that. And I loved the way that she was able to open up about her practices with her familiar spirits. I personally, for me, the familiar spirit is such an integral part of my practice, and you guys will have known for years, it always has been. But I guess for me, it's something that I've kept quite secretive about for me, and it's something that I've not really, despite saying it, I don't really divulge too much. But I love the fact that with this, she felt comfortable enough and open enough to open up about that. And I think for any practitioner actually to open up about their practice, as much as Jasmine Ambrosia has, and also some of her coven's practices, I have a lot of respect for, because I think that it shows, it shows an openness to vulnerability, but in the strongest possible way, right? In such a secure way. And I really enjoyed that. And yeah, I have a lot of respect for the author for doing that. So yeah, I also really enjoyed the fact that she mentions about the fetch, about the witch's fetch. And I think that this aspect, the fetch being an aspect of a triple soul, and the triple soul is something that plays a prominent part within traditional craft, coming from another stream of traditional craft, coming primarily from Ferry Anderson tradition. But the aspect of the triple soul, I think, is very, very important and very integral, and it plays quite a big part in my practice. So actually reading about engaging with the fetch and the experiences of her fetch with herself, I found really, really interesting, and it intrigued me as a reader. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed this book, and I would definitely recommend this book to witches, to hedge riders, to people that cross the hedge, to people that go into the other world. And for me, like I mentioned, as a witch, as a practitioner, to kind of read that and be like, oh my God, yes. Like, I get that, I get this. Like, And there were some things that I may not have come across within my own personal practice, but it was still really interesting, nevertheless, to know someone's different experiences of working within the other realm. And I really, really enjoyed this book. So I haven't got a hard copy, unfortunately. I'm probably going to buy a hard copy because I really, really enjoyed the book. But Ambrosia's Book of Witchflight, very, very much recommended, especially to hedge riders. I hope you guys enjoyed this wee review. And another thing what I will say as well, before I go, as an independent author myself, reviews help massively. So see if you enjoyed this book, please review it on Amazon, because as an independent author, that is how our work gains traction, it gains interest, it gains reputation, so please, any thoughts or good thoughts you had in regards to Ambrosia's Book of Witchflight, definitely put that on Amazon, definitely review that, because I can speak as myself, as an independent author, and I might be guilty of hounding people about it, but definitely Amazon reviews really, really help, and just reviews in general. So any way you can help an independent author out, especially within the community, and it is a body of work that you really enjoyed, definitely have a look. So yeah, over and out. Peace.